introduce yourself and
Sure.
just some brief comments about your company, where it's located, the business, and then we'll let people get into a little bit more of an overview about their company challenges these days.
Very good. So I'm Mike Barber. I'm the Intelligence Services Leader for New England Trane. So we cover from Maine to Rhode Island. Most people know us as an HVAC equipment provider, but we also do building automation and intelligence, which is essentially it's analytics that we run on not only individual parts and pieces. Yeah. So it's analytics that we run on not only individual parts and pieces and components of a system, but also the system as a whole and how those all interoperate together. We'll get into that in a little more detail. But I've been with New England Trane for 19 years now.
My name is Justin Simmons. I'm a sales account manager here in New England for Schneider Electric. Schneider is a large entity, a big company of acquisition. We're a $30 billion company headquartered out of France. We chose North Andover, Massachusetts, coincidentally and pretty strategically for my purposes, as our North American headquarters. So we have a lot of history here in New England. Tor Andover Control was who Schneider acquired a number of years ago, and they started back in 1985 with a very heavy influence in building automation controls in the life sciences market. Obviously, no coincidence here in Boston, Mass. So we've continued to evolve within the company. The company's also we have 5 major business units, including power, other APC type distribution gear, and then we get into our manufacturing. And I won't bore you with too many more details. But essentially, we're a large company. We do a lot. Smart buildings is over 50% of what we're focused on today. So when you think of where we are nationally, internationally, this is where we live. So we're excited to be a part of it.
And Ariana, I know you've already had a chance to introduce yourself to the group, but if you could just repeat a few things.
Ariana Mansfield again, hi. I work for Tech Systems. We are predominantly a building automation systems contractor, and we also do the building technology integration that I talked about earlier. We were founded in 1985 as well in New York City. We're the largest independent automation contractor in New York City. Moved up here about 2 years ago to expand into Boston, and the goal is to be the largest building automation system contractor in Boston. Sorry.
I love competition.
So yeah, our platform is Honeywell. So we're a Honeywell control system contractor, and we have access to all of the products that the Honeywell branch office has access to as well.
Great, thanks, Ariana. So I'm going to pass the mic back to Mike, and you can now go into a little more depth about your company. Okay. Yeah, here you go.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through our connected building solution strategy as a company. It really starts off with, we've been talking about the Internet of Things today, or this evening. But what is the Internet of Things? It's a lot of big data going up to a cloud. But what do you do with that cloud? Or what do you do with that data? That's what the differentiator. So, you're storing all this data in a cloud somewhere, but really what separates that is putting that data with over 100+ years, in our case, of equipment expertise, and trying to make systems better. So this is a typical building coming out of a plan and spec construction project, right? It's going along, going great. If it's not properly maintained over the life of that building or during the warranty phase or the first few years of that building, performance degrades, right? Overrides put in place, people override things, damper slip, equipment fails. Typically what will happen is there will be a retro commissioning or recommissioning project to bring that building back up to close to what it was at day one. But and then lather, rinse, repeat, right? If you don't continually monitor that, it fails. So what we're doing is we're coupling not only our building automation system with our on-site commissioning and technicians, but we're using analytics, cloud-based analytics. So all of our controllers communicate out to our cloud-based analytics, which is an Amazon Web Server-based platform. But what we're doing is, so we bring the building back to a regular, normal operating range, and then we're running our analytics to further optimize that. So they're not looking at only deficiencies in equipment and systems, but we're also looking at ways that you can better run the facility. Buildings today are at a turning point. Data-rich buildings are liability or assets, and technology-poor buildings are liabilities. The true differentiator between all of this is that data. So these are some of the things that connected building strategies can deliver. First and foremost, you have occupancy comfort and reliability, and then energy efficiency. One of the things that we're doing is the documented result piece is proving to you that we're doing our job, and we can overlay energy on top of not only performance reports but also energy analysis to make sure that we are truly reducing the cost of energy in your facility and increasing the reliability. Cybersecurity is a huge component. In this day and age, data is going out. You don't want anyone coming in. And that's something that we're good stewards of internet security. We have an entire team that's all they do is look at all our connected panels and ensure that that nothing's exposed to the outside world. If it is, they notify the local office, we notify the owner, and then we help them take actions working with their IT group, or we can work with them as well. This is sort of a summary of Trane's connected building solutions. So we have over 11,000 buildings nationally connected to our cloud. Over 500,000 pieces of equipment in those 11,000 buildings. Those pieces of equipment build up into 18,000 individual systems. So you have all these, say, like a variable air volume box going to an air handler. All those together are a system. 2 billion data points every day coming in that we're running analytics on, to the tune of 4.8 million analytics run each and every day. We're also using this platform as a remote accessibility, a web interface for our customers. And there's 17,000 logons every month. It's growing rapidly. We're adding 60 buildings each and every month, or each and every week. So it's an ever-evolving landscape, and I'm looking forward to hopefully getting into some more more detail in the question and answer session.
All right, so I'm a bit of a visual learner, guys, so bear with me here. As we've already discussed, converged network is kind of the key to the smart building. We've had a lot of smart features over the years. We can do a lot of smart technology, but how are we truly making these buildings brilliant? Well, in the past, you'd see a number of disparate systems. As Ariana was mentioning earlier, we had multiple systems that would have individual network infrastructure throughout the facility. So in an instance of logistical installation, sure, that's one cumbersome process it's alleviating. But then how are we taking it a step further? Once we have that converged network backbone in place, we're putting all of these systems, integrating them onto that same IT backbone, and now we're starting to communicate across those platforms at a much greater rate between bandwidth, functionality, and then how we're really taking that to the next step and utilizing that in our future goals within these facilities is what we're trying and what we are achieving. So again, I mentioned visual. I'd like to walk you through that a little bit. Envision that you are driving, you're not just Ubering to work today. You're pulling into the parking garage. All of a sudden the gate goes up because it recognizes your license plate. On your phone that we're all tethered to and can't get enough of, it tells us what parking spot to go to because it understands what available space is closest to us. We park, it then tells us, it knows we do not have a cubicle, we do not have an office. We now have the ability to be more infrastructurally sound and flexible by saying you have a hot swappable cube, and you're going to essentially look at your phone and it's going to tell you go to J11. Well, J11 happens to be directly above where you park, so that was pretty convenient. But now you sit down and maybe the lighting's a little different, the temperature's not what you consistently like, but you have it programmed to who you are on your phone, so now suddenly the temperature is what you want, the lighting's dim to whatever you're comfortable with, and now you're off and operating. So, okay, we've done kind of the basics, that's fancy, that sounds good, but now what's for lunch? Again, my phone, whether it's a food truck or a cafeteria, my phone's gonna tell me what's the special today, what's happening. I can place that order, I can now let the cafeteria know how many orders we're probably gonna have, they can be better prepared, that's gonna help their efficiency. And now we're back to our desk faster, we picked it up, we didn't wait in a long line, and we're more efficient in our facilities. So, I mean, just to give you a quick glimpse, that's just how some of these systems communicating on one infrastructure is going to streamline our process. It goes on and on, whether I have a smart coffee maker, or I have a printer that knows more about me, or God knows who's watching wherever, and that's a big concern, right? What's gonna happen? If they know too much about me, now I'm nervous. Well, cybersecurity is key to all of this as well. And at Schneider Electric, I'm gonna jump past real quick. I'm not gonna get heavy into product, guys. I just want you to understand that as we see here, this is what we consider our technology stack. So out in the field, all this instrumentation is happening. So we have all these field level devices that are communicating back to what's essentially our enterprise level. So that's a workstation, a server, something that's storing and analyzing the data. We then push that out to the cloud, which is running additional analytics to give us the reports that we talk about and better understanding how to functionality with our Bluetooth device. But through all of that, if I'm passing all the information, we need to make sure we have end-to-end cybersecurity. And Schneider's initiative is largely involved in this as well. So we're protecting the information coming in, making sure it's not going out. In a nutshell, we'll talk more about that. If you guys need to know, by the way, that visualization was not just hypothetical. We did that back in 2012 in the Netherlands with Deloitte, that's Schneider Electric in the Netherlands. So yeah, we've been around, and these are a couple examples of what we're doing in New York right now. Ground up construction at 390 Madison, and a full retrofit of a 33-story building at 75 Rockefeller. So it doesn't just have to be new construction, guys. It can be a retrofit of an existing facility, which is a whole other animal. We'll talk later.
Great.
I don't have anything prepared.
Yeah, I would just, anything to add though? Any thoughts? Okay, all right. You know, sometimes you just never know. There's a tendency to want to talk. At this point, we'll move into a Q&A session and then put it out to the audience again. Maybe we'll get to you in a sec. But with the Internet of Things, Justin, I'm just kind of curious from your perspective. Where have we accomplished, more than what you expected over the past 24 months, and where are we slower in terms of adopting technology?
Sure. So a little bit around the history of IoT.
Can anyone tell me or give a quick summary of where IoT started to originate? Do we have any ideas? You got it?
It's big data collection. Yeah.
So it's just evolved, right? Well, it stems from originally what was first. It was the internet. But the internet was a product that was created by people for people. So we didn't call it the Internet of People, that just is what it was. But then around 2008 to 2010, there was a shift that really was dramatic, and we started noticing something where we no longer were just people with people. There was actually things and items and devices that were communicating with one another. And suddenly we started to see between that 2008-2010 spectrum where there was more devices connecting with or communicating with one another than people. So coined the term Internet of Things. So to understand that, think about that. 2010, let's just say there was more devices. It's 8 years later. We've done a lot in the last 8 years, but we're just starting to really talk about IoT as a mainstream feature. And that's the reality. Things start to happen, things start to evolve, but we don't hear about it and really accept it on a mainstream spectrum for years later. The same holds true with smart buildings. I've been building smart buildings for 9 years, and I'm not the first guy to do it. I started in data centers, and we had a much more progressive mentality. It's a matter of now, it's new to us today because it's a concept that we're now accepting on a social platform and in society that's allowing us to say, okay, yeah, this is real. So it's the same with the IoT. To answer your original question, after I got off on a tangent, I think that the biggest feature and benefit of what we're seeing today is that we're now cognizant of what's happening around us. And because of that, we're taking more advantage of it by using these smart features, but it's also exciting to see where it's going to go in the future. And we're all more receptive of doing so.
Thanks. Mike, I've got a question for you.
Sure.
What do you think is one of the more innovative thrusts that Trane has right now going for the company?
So we have a very robust energy services business, and we do all kinds of things outside of the box, whether it be solar, biomass, wood chip, boiler stuff, but then we're throwing analytics on top of that to make sure that those systems are operating as efficiently and as effectively as we had originally designed. We're protecting not only engineering designs, but also our customers, and making sure that nothing slips over time to make sure that they're maintaining the spend that they should be doing. A lot of the things that we've been doing is we have I think we call it energy optics, so it's a nice 3D graphical energy use. So we lay that on top of the analytics that we're running so we can paint a very clear picture. And we've really started connecting a lot of those dots together to make a very compelling case for our owners and customers, and really helps identify opportunities for waste in our customer sites.
Ariana, can you talk about one of your larger projects in New York? And you highlighted a couple, but I think there are, a couple of projects in New York, in Midtown and Lower Manhattan that have been, pretty innovative.
Gotta pick one. So One Bryant Park, the Bank of America Tower, it's actually getting on the older side. I know there's a building in Boston that says it's the first LEED Platinum. I was under the impression that One Bryant Park was the first LEED Platinum. Sorry if anyone here is offended by that, but I think actually Boston does win. It was pretty innovative still for a building that was built in 2008. It has air acuity systems, which is pretty popular here now as well for collecting information in hospitals on occupancy. And we put in a very large display for the building owners and the people that go through the building that shows all the mechanical systems in the building and exactly how they're operating. And it actually talks to the grid, and there's a cogeneration plant on the 7th floor of a 65-story skyscraper. And the grid will tell the building when to shed load and when to use their generator, and they actually sell their energy back to the grid as well.
Great, thank you. So I think what we'll do is we'll open up the questions to the audience, and Megan, do you have a question you want to start? Yeah.
So, when you're talking about this automated system that, you find the parking spot, it then directs you towards your cubicle, and then you order lunch. Right now in an age where it seems like privacy and advertisement don't really care, you can have a conversation with your friend over the phone and all of a sudden an ad pops up about exactly what you talked about. What kind of firewalls do you guys have in place to keep that kind of data mining out of, well, if I sit in the southwest corner and then all of a sudden I order tacos for lunch? What do you do to keep that away?
Perfect question. So everything we're discussing here is not just a web-based application. We're talking about a standalone local network that eventually gets served out to the web. So what we're talking about, how we're achieving those features and the communication that's being passed between one another on the system level, is that we're actually doing that at our control. We are managing the network, we are managing the switches, and then through our building analytics, as well as our workplace advisor, that's how we're passing this information. So it's actual standalone applications that are proprietary to our network locally that are actually functional. It's not getting served outside of the building, and so we're not getting into that web traffic or advertisement or the spam mail that's gonna suddenly pop up on our phone. It's something that's truly happening when we're in a proximity of the facility. Where we can then pass that information out is a totally different conversation where we enjoy the ability to have that web access, but that's more on a utility level for the building management to be able to see alarms and notifications off-site. Has nothing to do with personal information.
We have another question from the audience?
With smart buildings, how do you combat the need for redundant services with power outages, especially here in New England, where we have massive storms that just knock things out for a couple days? Where your infrastructure would go down, but your internal systems are still trying to communicate. So how do you handle those type of situations?
In a perfect world, Schneider produces a microgrid. We use solar and battery storage and blah, blah, blah that's going to be able to keep you off grid for X amount of time. But what we do have is, hopefully if it's a critical enough facility, you're gonna have some type of a generator system. And we're gonna be able to load shed the facility to understand what can go down, what needs to stay up. And then ideally, whatever software and programming, it's going to be non-volatile, so if it does go offline, it's going to come back to its original state. And in doing so, however it was running at time of loss, it should go back to running in that same capacity, so that if it does take a blip, it comes back up. There's all other ways of putting uninterrupted power supplies, which is essentially large batteries in place to carry you over that glitch. But yeah, to your point, we are in New England. We are building infrastructure more and more redundant. And even the use of batteries with lithium technology, Schneider provides a completely rack-mounted blade server type style where we can just load up batteries and roll it in and keep something running. So these are all techniques to explore.
So a question and a comment. The question, with all these talk about smart buildings and telling us where to park, what elevator to take, do you feel that it's having an effect on the human race, that we're now becoming dumber than our technology?
Not that people say that, it's still going, this, you got it?
So I don't think it's sort of the dumbing down of America. I think it's more of utilizing new technologies to operate your buildings more effectively and more efficiently, taking some of the guesswork out of it. So you're not having to think quite as hard, you're not having to dig in quite as deep to some issues that may be coming up. Utilizing technology is sort of a helping hand, not a crutch per se.
So if it takes the thought process away from us as humans deciding where to park, what elevator to take, we're actually going back to that 1984 George Orwellian, basically we're becoming slaves to this super technology and smart infrastructure that we're all talking about.
My answer to that would be that it's convenient that we don't have to consciously think to breathe.
I would agree, but we're also minimizing some of the excuses out there. Sorry, boss, I couldn't find a parking spot, goes away. Sorry, boss, I left my stuff at my desk. No, you should have had it all with you because you don't have a desk. So there's a lot of features that we find efficiencies on, and we're showing that statistically proven this should benefit us. Now granted, we're all gonna be part of the rat race, it kinda is what it is. But the fact that we're able to streamline our process, it's true. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. We're all out here, we're working 9 to 5. I'm here after hours, you guys are here after hours. But I would honestly say anyone who sits in this room right now isn't necessarily here to make a living. We all, I would like to think, are trying to make a difference. And that sounds a little corny, but why else do we care? So to answer your question, Niall, yes, we will have a little bit of that, but there is going to be some efficiencies gained for sure.
Let me just talk about that, or ask you a perspective on the human, but from a different perspective. Have any of your solutions considered tapping into the human inhabitants of your buildings and not just measuring what they're doing and letting the smart building do the right thing, but incorporating their desires, their observations, etc. I'd love for you to comment on that. And then second, as you develop solutions, Boston is a fantastic place for innovation. And innovation in this day and age, especially with analytics, requires fantastic curated or public open data. Have you considered, or would you consider, opening up your data for the innovation ecosystem in Boston?
So I'm gonna let someone else answer the data question, but I'll answer the first part of that. Smart buildings are really geared towards the user experience. So I recently talked to a developer who gave a statistic that tenants will pay up to 10% more for a smart building versus a regular dome building. If the user experience is enhanced, right? So if you don't want to take your key card out of your pocket to get to your floor in the elevator, and you walk into the elevator, it sees your phone, it takes you to your appropriate floor. If you want to know if there's an elliptical available for you at the gym without having to get up and go to the gym and look for one. So the smart buildings really are geared towards the user experience, not just the collection of data analytics for HVAC equipment. It could be used for so many different things. I just was talking to somebody about this product that will act as Google Maps on your phone for large campuses and hospitals and shopping malls. So you walk into a hospital, you get lost, you can pull up your phone, and it'll actually be Google Maps for that specific campus. There's analytics on the workflow process, on space utilization, all geared towards making the user experience better.
Sure.
Awesome.
Okay, sensitive data, that's always a touchy topic, right? I would say that if we had an owner who was open to the idea that we could work together and come up with a solution to share data two ways. We can't speak on behalf of the owner, obviously, but if there was an owner that truly was driven by innovation and wanted to do something with the data aside from sort of the value that we've been showing them, I'd say that we could work with them in some capacity, but we obviously couldn't act on the owner's behalf.
And one last point,
Yeah.
it sounds like a
Yes.
business opportunity, because if you can start getting owners to solicit their information, that could be a whole new level of building. Just a thought.
Why not build when you can build up? So I just want to thank everybody for coming. It's hashtag Build Up Smart. This was level 1, January 9th, 2019 will be level 2. And I think we can get more in depth into some of these questions. And I've already received some responses and inquiries from people that even have more progressive things, like tracking where a thought starts in your brain, and then everything else can run off of that. So talk about mind-blowing. So I think with
Let's
that,
also have a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you.